Hi, I'm Kyle.
And I'm Trevor, and welcome to Catching Up on Cinema. For this month, the March of 2019, Kyle and I are going to be indulging ourselves in cinema of the Irish. Being as St. Patrick's Day is in March, we're trying to come up with a theme for the month, and Kyle and I decided to explore some Irish cinema this month. Later on, we're going to be getting into an evening with Troy Duffy, Irish-American bartender / filmmaker. But to kick things off this month, I got to select the first film, and the one I went with is not actually an Irish film. However, it stars some Irish people, and being as this is half my show, I'm counting that.
Yep.
I'll allow it. In the words of the immortal Mills Lane, I'll allow it. So the film that I chose is from 1990, and the official title is The Big Man. When it was exported to the United States, though, via the Miramax company, the title was changed to Crossing the Line, and in some cases it's used as a subtitle. So the full title of the film, I guess, is The Big Man Crossing the Line, or The Big Man, Crossing the Line. I think that was done in an effort to, punch up the title, because The Big Man is kind of a... Well, it's kind of a juvenile turn of phrase. It sounds like something a child would say, and it doesn't really give you an idea of what what the thematic content of the story is, whereas Crossing the Line sounds like a very masculine story. Film was directed by David Leland, who I don't really know by reputation, but if we gloss over
Band of
his
Brothers
profile here... Oh, really?
He did Band of Brothers.
He directed episodes for it?
From what I understand, yes.
Yeah, that looks to be the case. He did at least one episode of Band of Brothers. I believe he is Irish, although he may be just British. No, he's British. Never mind. But it looks like he's got a pretty diverse filmography. He's been in some Hammer films. Not a super high-profile director.
No.
And, honestly, the only reason I gravitated towards this film is I happen to like Liam Neeson. I kind of always have. And a long time ago, probably back in high school, and keep that in mind when I'm telling you this, I was scouring the internet for violent scenes in movies. So I was reading an article about that, and somebody in the forum threw this film out there because they felt that a pivotal scene in this film was an example of a particularly brutal fight sequence in Western film. And so I kept that in the back of my mind ever since then. And it wasn't until a couple months ago that I saw this film for the first time, and I decided Kyle needed to watch it as well. So Kyle, how did you feel about this one right out the gate?
Real quick, David Leland directed Wish You Were Here, 1987. I've never heard of it, but it did get, let's see, how many stars from Roger Ebert himself? 3.5. So nearly 4 stars. So he seems to have directed a pretty decent movie at some point. This movie that we're talking about, are we going to refer to this as The Big Man or Crossing the Line?
I've always thought of it as The Big Man, because even if you look at the poster for it, Crossing the Line is in very small type, whereas The Big Man is in very big type.
Well, I mean, he's the one that actually crosses the line. We'll get to that, but
yeah, he does. He crosses the proverbial line. And multiple characters in this film are referred to as the Big Man.
Yeah, it was okay. I don't think it was as much fun as what was the Bruce Dern boxing movie?
Oh, Diggstown.
Not as much.
Diggstown was meant to be fun, though.
That was a bit more fun. I'm always game for a foreign film. Sports movie. This isn't really a sports movie. I wouldn't say.
No, not at all.
It's kind of what Bricktop was doing, building up to his status in Snatch, I would say. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. There's definitely some fun lines in here. I have a real big problem with the dog in this movie.
I knew you would.
Jesus. Well, I mean, the dog doesn't serve much of a purpose, in my opinion. I'm like, do we really need the dog in here, guys? Because the problem, Trevor, is when I watch movies, I have 2 dogs, and when my 2 dogs see a dog on screen, they go nuts. And the dog is in, I'd say, as many shots as Liam Neeson in this movie. If Liam Neeson is in the shot, the dog's in there. If Billy Connolly is in the shot,
the first half of this film, Billy the dog is definitely like ever present.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, I guess be happy that you watched this film with a beer.
Yeah. I had a Guinness or 2.
So that being said, I guess we should get right to it. The film begins with what I think is a pretty classy tracking shot. It's just a pastoral view of Scotland. We're obviously in a vehicle of some sort, speeding along down a dirt road, and our credits play over this tracking shot looking over the countryside. And then right off the bat, the score hits you. I'm not sure if you noticed or if you were affected by the score at all. I happen to really like it. It's by Ennio Morricone, cinema legend when it comes to like score composition for films. Funny enough, like his music for this, I'm not sure if it was just the time period because this was 1990, but the music reminded me a lot of The Untouchables. But yeah, the score hits immediately, and it's this kind of low-key, ominous track that starts playing, and it kind of sets a weird tone where it's like, oh, hang on, I didn't know this movie was going to be like that dark. I kind of thought it would. I mean, fuck, the font is yellow on the cover. It's fucking yellow. It's just, it can't be that intense. But yeah, we're driving along, and then there's this really cool moment of vehicle coordination where the vehicle we're traveling in that the camera's set up on comes to this like fork in the road, and then the camera starts panning over, and this really fancy old car swoops in behind it, and it's like perfectly seamless. So like the timing of it had to be very precise. Not sure how many takes that took, but it just seemed really cool and like something that required a lot more effort than was warranted, but it paid off if you ask me. So this town is driving through this car is driving through a very small town. We get to see some people coming out of a church. We later learned that it's Liam Neeson's family. And then during the credits, I happened to notice that this is actually based on a book by William McIlvaney, I think. I'm not so good with my Mac pronunciations. But,
that's probably pretty close.
Yeah. And then I think pretty much right off the bat we go into town. I think they even refer to it as a village. It's very quaint. It's a very small village in Scotland, and we're introduced to Liam Neeson ironing his clothes in the evening. And he's hanging out in the living room, and his wife and kids show up, and I guess they're coming home from evening church or something.
Yeah, I guess Daddy's not going to church tonight. Daddy's got to iron his clothes. Yeah, he comes home, and I would have watched this with the subtitles, but it wasn't available when I was viewing it. So
yeah, there's some heavy accents in this movie.
They say some Irish stuff, and it appears as though Liam Neeson's Pieces doesn't have a job. Hence him ironing his clothes in the evening. But I guess does he go to take the dog for a walk? Is that what he says he's going to go do? Well, first he's going to go play soccer he's like, I'm going to go look for a job or something, but first he's going to go play football with the kids in the backyard.
Yeah, he's like doing 3 things at once. Like he's for a person who's, late in their day, he's got a lot to do.
Yeah.
So he's ironing his clothes. He's got a job interview as a van driver coming up that his wife set him up with. But in the interim, he's like, okay, I'll play football with the kids. I'm going to take the dog for a walk. I'm going to go for a bike ride. I'm going to stop at the pub. It's like, dude, like, you're getting ready for an interview. You might want to, like...
Not go to the pub?
Not go to the pub, 1. And 2, like, maybe not show up all sweaty from riding a bike and playing fucking footy with the kids. So he heads out back. He plays football with the kids, and then he hops on his bike and he takes Billy the dog for a run, and he speeds off to this pub. And earlier, like 2 shots before this, we saw the sinister car from the opening of the film pull up to the same pub. So right off the bat, it's like, some parties are converging at this pub.
Yes, and this is one of my new favorite names for a pub in cinema history. Tennant's Lager is the name of the pub. It's not even like flashy. It's almost like laundromat. Like this is where the tenants buy their beer. There's nothing special about it.
Yeah, this is the pub of the proletariat. It's like, if you work with your hands, you go to that pub. If you work behind a desk, you go to that pub. It's like it's simple rules in life.
Yeah, Neeson's up there at the bar, rolling his own cigarette.
Yeah, everybody's smoking indoors.
I love it.
It's really bright, and everybody's very chummy. Seems like a kind of cool atmosphere, actually.
If you're local, if you're not a local, I don't think you should go in there. I don't think they're gonna like you very much.
It'd be like American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay. This is not a friendly pub.
There's a motor mouth sitting at the bar who I've seen this guy several times, and I looked at the like his IMDb, and I'm trying to think. I'm like, I just saw him recently in something. I couldn't figure it out. Peter Mullen is his name. He's in Train Spotting. Let's see what else here. Westworld. Few other things, but I just couldn't pinpoint what I've seen him in recently. But again, I didn't understand what he was saying. Harry Potter, that's what I've seen him most recently in.
Okay.
He's just talking about, is this Irish or Scottish? I know it's filmed in Scotland, but are we in Scotland or Ireland in this?
I believe it's Scotland. Like I said, there's a lot of Irish people in this movie. Like Liam, for instance, he's playing Scottish, but it is what it is. Like, I'll allow it, goddamn. Yeah, Peter Mullen, he does have a familiar face, actually. I can't pinpoint where I've seen him before, but if you glance at his IMDb, he's a very prolific actor. You've probably seen him many times.
Yeah.
When, like, a couple shots before Liam gets to the pub, the folks from the fancy car get out, and they scope out the pub, and we have a lingering shot on a very young, very shorn Billy Connolly.
Yeah,
Billy Connolly is in the pub, and to me, he just looks so weird without facial hair, and with his like big pompadour-looking thing without any sideburns.
Yeah,
he has
no
the most
sideburns.
ridiculous hair, no sideburns.
No sideburns.
I don't trust a man without sideburns. I'm sorry.
Nor should you.
Rules to live by. If a man ain't got no sideburns, keep your eye on him. He's up to no good. But I couldn't help but like think of Jay Leno when I was looking at him.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because he actually does have a bit of a prominent chin, and without the beard, it makes it worse. And then he's got the big fucking like pompadour / mullet. And
it's
also,
a Seinfeld
he's
mullet.
got like, it looks like a shark skin jacket on.
Well,
like he looks like he should be hanging out with Don Johnson or something.
Yeah, he's like what's his name? Michael J. Fox's best friend in Teen Wolf. Like, this is the guy that's gonna try to exploit him.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lingering shot of Billy Connolly. No words are exchanged, but he and the people from the car, one of whom is obviously quite wealthy, as that is a nice-ass car, and one of whom is a pretty terrifying-looking goon, who I can't confirm, but I think that might be the same guy from Never Say Never Again. It's the non-canon James Bond movie. It's the Sean Connery Bond movie that he was contractually obligated to do.
Oh, he is in. You've seen him in. Damn it, Indiana Jones.
Oh, he's the big goon that he fought multiple times across multiple movies?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, more than likely that is the same guy then.
His name is Pat Roach.
Thank you for supplying me with the name.
No
I've
problem.
always wanted to know that guy's name, because he he plays the heavy very well. Like he's a good goon. He's great at it.
He and Liam Neeson's wife in this movie are both in the movie Willow, which I would love to do. I would love to do a catching up on that, but it's hard to find right now. And he's in Conan the Destroyer.
Well, remember, Willow just got a Blu-ray re-release not too long ago, and I have not seen it, but I'd very much like to. So maybe we'll do an episode on it very shortly. So yeah, we have a rich gentleman, a goon, and Billy Connolly. And they're all hanging out in the pub before Liam gets there. So while Liam is hanging out there, Connolly ducks into the restroom where the rich gentleman happens to be, and we learn that this guy's name is Mr. Mason, and he's one of the more prominent figures in this film. So it's important to keep that in your mind. And immediately the two start chatting about Liam. Mr. Mason is washing his hands, and he asks, like, is this guy really a tough guy? And through this conversation, we can very easily piece together that the rich guy and the goon are casing Liam. Like, they're watching him because they want him for something involving violence of some sort. We also learn that Billy Connolly is friendly with Liam Neeson. Probably from a long time ago, but obviously they went down different roads in their life because Liam is unemployed and Billy Connolly's wearing fucking shark skin jackets.
I mean, they're still pretty tight. I feel like they've been getting pints at Tenet's Lager for quite a while.
Yeah, before Billy Connolly steps into the restroom to have this little chat with Mr. Mason, he does say hello to Liam, and the two of them go back and forth, and they're chummy.
Yeah.
But Billy Connolly actually has a pretty cool line here, and actually I caught a number of pretty good lines in this movie. I was pretty happy with the writing. Learning that it was based on a book, that kind of makes some sense. But when Billy Connolly is being asked about Liam's fighting prowess, he refers to him as a big man, proud in victory, glorious in defeat. So that points to Liam Neeson as being a righteous figure, I guess.
Was Diggstown based on a book? Or did we speculate that it might?
I think it is. I think I remember seeing that in the credits.
Who the
book
fuck
had a
is
different
reading,
title.
Who is reading boxing books?
Me?
You're reading books like boxing books.
Occasionally, yeah.
Wow. I didn't think there was a market for that.
It's very small.
It's a very niche community.
Yeah, it's a very niche category of novel, but some pretty prominent writers have touched on boxing as like a favorite subject of theirs. It's actually, I mean, it's the human drama component of it that draws a lot of people to it. I think you find a lot more think pieces and like nonfiction stories about boxing rather than novels or fictional stories, but it is a thing in literature.
Wow, I was not aware of that.
You got it in.
Didn't even mean to.
Yeah, you got your Wayne's World in there. Let's see if we can do it again. So Billy Connolly and Mr. Mason. Mr. Mason, who is played by Ian Bannon, who I don't really recognize. Unlike you, I think you've watched a lot more UK films than I have. It's
Probably.
It's not something I have much experience with, which is part of why stuff like this is kind of fun for me, just for the novelty. I didn't really recognize this guy from anything. I was very happy with his performance. I liked him a lot. However, I think he was Robert the Bruce's dad in Braveheart. I'm almost positive, in fact.
Yep, he is the leper.
Yep. Yeah, I kind of figured.
He's also in a movie that I've been looking to watch for a while now, Waking Ned Devine.
I have not seen that, but it has just the title alone, it hits you.
Yeah. Been meaning to watch that one for a while.
It's like fried green tomatoes. It's like, I have no fucking clue what that's about, but I bet it's good.
You're fine. You don't need to worry about fried green tomatoes. It's okay.
It's okay. So Billy Connolly, whose character's name is Frankie, by the way. Frankie and Mr. Mason, they exit the restroom, and then we get some lingering shots of the goon, and he's taken off his watch, which is not a good thing in a pub that's not friendly to outsiders. That's usually a sign that some shit's about to go down.
Yeah, he's out of bubblegum.
Yeah, yeah, he's all out of bubblegum, and you know what comes next. So yeah, he purposely, very obviously purposely, instigates a verbal conflict with the Motormouth guy that you were talking about.
Yeah, I like his line. Basically, the Motormouth guy is going on about politics, which you're not supposed to do. I find it best to not talk about politics in a bar. It never leads to anything good. But you'd think that he's safe here in his little towny, Tenant's Lager pub here. But the big guy just stares at him for a minute, and he's about to start some shit. And I do like the line he gives him. He's like, "Once you shut your mouth," he's like, "open it again, I'll put a glass in it." I'm like, fuck, dude, that's not good. I would shut up, because this dude's a monster. Like, the guy
he's big, and he's got that Robert Davi complexion where it's like, oh, he knows how to fight.
he's like Tex Cobb. If Tex Cobb was just a Viking, like if he was just a little bit bigger, it would be Tex Cobb.
Yeah, there you go. That's a pretty good description. Also, it needs to be said, I've been saying this for a long time, the more specific a threat is,
yes,
I think the more convincing it is.
I agree.
And if you illustrate exactly what it is you're going to do, you better take it to heart.
I'm gonna hang you from the tower from your balls. Like, oh, I think he's gonna do that because he's done that before.
He can visualize the step-by-step process that goes into doing that. It's like, no. If he just says he's gonna hit you or something, or ask you to fight or something, it's okay, that's an empty threat. But if he illustrates exactly what he's gonna do, back the fuck down.
And I appreciate this guy. Like, he's at a loss for words here. He's just kind of looking at him like, this monster can do whatever he wants to me. Like, I can fight back, I could talk shit, but I'm gonna have to go to the dentist tomorrow because I'm missing teeth. This guy's gonna do whatever he wants to me. And he kind of just looks at him like, fuck, there's nothing I can do. I have to stop talking. Mm-hmm. But all the patrons of Tenant's Lager are all paying attention to this, and it's pretty quiet in there. And Liam Neeson is actually just still, looking down at his newspaper, smoking his roll-your-own cigarette. Mm-hmm. But alas, he decides to engage.
Yeah, Liam Neeson steps up to kind of back up his little Motormouth buddy, and I forget what words are exchanged, but the big goon guy, who's very obviously doing this to get Liam's attention. I mean, he was brought there by Mr. Mason, presumably to draw Liam Neeson's character, Danny Schooler, into a fight. And we can piece this together almost right away, that this is basically an audition.
Yeah.
He's auditioning for some sort of fight. So the goon turns his attention to Liam, throws some nasty language at him, and I really loved the way this went down. This is it felt like, I don't know, primitive, like old world mentality, where the goon says some nasty stuff to Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson just kind of stares at him. We get some shots of just the other people in the pub watching this unfold. And we actually get to see Liam Neeson, like, survey the room. Like, he reads the room, and he sees, like, oh, man, like, now my pride's on the line.
Well, pride's on the line.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting situation.
Winner takes it all.
It makes me think of Lethal Weapon 4.
Oh,
when
gosh.
Mel Gibson and Danny Glover are talking about Jet Li right before they go fight him.
That was fun. That was a fun scene.
Oh, I loved it because like he's talking about how awesome it was when Jet Li took his pistol apart, and Danny Glover just replies, "Yep, well, let's go ask him.
Let's go ask him.
No, let's go ask him. Like, how did he do? Mel Gibson's like, how did he do that? Like, how did he do that? And Danny Glover, like, because they're so tight with each other, they it's code speak, and he just looks at him, shrugs, and says, "Yep." Let's go ask him. Which
real
is code
quick
for, okay,
Which one of the Lethal Weapon movies has your favorite cold open? Not cold open, but favorite opening.
Favorite opening.
Because I'm gonna say Lethal Weapon 2 has the best opening to one of the Lethal Weapon movies.
3, I've gone on record saying 3 is my least favorite of those movies, but it has
awful.
a pretty good one. It has a pretty good opener. 4, come on, the flamethrower guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty fucking great.
That was pretty good.
No, I think 4 for me personally. 2, if I was to rank those movies, I think it goes
2, 1, 4, 3.
4, 3.
2, 1, 4, 3, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're in agreement then.
Yeah. Riggs. You're Martin Riggs?
Riggs? Are you Martin Riggs? Martin Riggs?
The movie just had the best feelings.
Fun.
So, real quick, before we get too far into this, I just wanted to mention something. It has nothing to do with the movie, but I was watching this, and the Irish accents were cracking me up here and there, and I just wanted to ask you something. Do you remember... it might be one of Daniel Day-Lewis's best moments in a film. In Gangs of New York, when Leonardo DiCaprio and Elliot from E.T., they're bringing the money there, and they're kind of gaining a little bit of respect with Bill the Butcher. And that Irishman is not happy about how they got the money. And the Irishman calls them a couple of fiddle and bends. And, and just immediately after that, the look that Bill the Butcher gives to this guy, just the puzzled look, like, what the fuck did you just say? Because even Leo's character is like, what? I don't know, what does that mean? But
like, what part of Ireland are you from?
Go back and find that clip and just look at Daniel Day-Lewis's reaction to Fiddle and Benz.
Couple of Fiddle and Benz.
Fiddle and Benz, and he's just like, I think the music stops because even the what did he say? But that's kind of how I felt here. I was just like, wait, what? What are they talking about now? What are you saying?
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, like, what? Huh? That's a really good movie, What? I think so, yeah.
I think that's my favorite What in cinema history is Michael Keaton, because he gets the head cock and the squint at the same time. What?
Well, there was so much weight to that. He's like, I've heard that before, but what the fuck does that mean?
It's a genuine what?
What?
Like, that's familiar, and I'm also puzzled.
Yeah, but what you don't know is that that's not what he was reacting to. Tim Burton basically just said, Jack, I need a good reaction out of Mike, so can you just say some crazy shit to get a rise out of him? And it's not on the deleted scenes because you cannot hear what he asked him.
I bet you, like, they filmed that shot, and, like, Nicholson was just, like, out of makeup and everything, was like standing behind the camera or behind the lighting crew, just like mooning him or something. And Keaton's just like, what are you doing? So anyway, we should get back to The Big Man.
Yeah, The Big Man.
Instead of talking about these other better movies. So yeah, I really liked Liam Neeson's reaction when he's being verbally accosted by this goon, and just those lingering shots of the villagers. It has like a very small town feel to it, where it's like you can tell that he feels obligated to do something, and so like without any words exchanged, he just kind of like cocks his head towards the door, and I think I forget the name of the pub owner, but he just says like, so and so doesn't like fights in his pub. And then the villagers all in the pub start cheering.
Fuck yeah, dude! They are so jacked.
They are so jacked because, like, I'm sure they get 2 channels on their TVs, and probably don't have 24-hour radio.
They get the football channel and they get the news channel, and I think only 3 people in this whole village have a TV. So yeah, this is the most entertaining thing. They don't have HBO.
Billy the dog is probably the biggest celebrity in town. So we step outside, and right off the bat, like this is the first instance of it in the film, as far as I know. But this whole outdoor sequence is bathed in a neon pink glow. I can't see pink neon lighting without thinking of From Beyond. And it reminded me a bit of that, but it looks kind of funny, you know, in a pretty much like pastoral Scottish, like outside of a pub scene. And so Liam Neeson and this guy, they square off. The fight is lit both by this neon pink glow. I'm guessing it's supposed to be coming from the neon signs outside the pub. Supposed to be, as well as the headlights of Mr. Mason's car. And with one punch, Liam Neeson puts this goon down, and that's it. And
real pikey
immediately
move.
following that, Mr. Mason pulls him aside and asks to speak with him.
Yes, not before the pub owner says, "Everyone, have a drink on me," which I thought this was an Irish bar, which would have been a very bold statement. I guess this is Scottish. I think they're not as big of drinkers as the Irish, but still, it's pretty bold. Pretty bold there. Oh, yeah. Everybody, drink on me. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I don't need to pay my taxes this month. So immediately following this, we cut to Liam arriving home.
Yeah.
He's got Billy the dog on a leash, and he lets him off and lets him run the rest of the way home. And Liam is in a great fucking mood.
He's like the dad from A Christmas Story when he's getting a major prize. Like, he comes home, it's tonight.
It's a major award.
It's a major award.
It must be Italian, you know? And yeah, he's in a delightful mood. And there's a neat little shot here of his wife's face. And she just, like, gives the smallest smile. But it kind of tells you that it's like, yeah, this lady really loves him. Like, even though we'll see later on, like, they butt heads on some things, like, in her heart, in her soul, she really does love her man. And Liam shows up with a handful of cash, and he's so happy he's, like, waking up the kids. he's that level of happy.
It's Liam Neeson. He has wife security. Like, whatever wife he chooses, whatever he chooses to marry, she's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that bone structure, that stature.
He's a 6'4" handsome Irishman. Oh no, I'm sorry, honey. I can do better. I'm gonna go with Hugh Grant. Yeah, that's
yeah, sure. Seriously, 6'4", perfect bone structure, Irish,
tall, drink a dick. Yeah.
It's long and thin.
Oh shit! I almost did a spit take.
I'm sorry, Kyle.
You can't see my face.
I can't.
I wasn't ready for that. Oh man, sorry.
So, how about you tell us how the wife reacts to this wad of cash as opposed to "I got a job"?
Well, Trevor, I mean, as you and I both know, most American wives are pretty excited when their husbands go out to pubs and decide that they're going to fight for money. But apparently, in the UK, they're not really fond of that. So she's none too thrilled to find out that he's. Well, first of all, I think he was supposed to be taking the dog for a walk, not grabbing a pint and a cigarette down the road. So the fact that he comes back with beer on his breath and he's like, I'm going to fight for some money. And she's like, what the fuck? You don't have a job? You're at the pub with those other pieces of shit, smoking and drinking, and now you're fighting for money. So she's not too happy about it. And it appears, though, that they're kind of hard up for money. But she doesn't seem too concerned about it. I mean, they're living pretty poor, but he doesn't really seem. He doesn't seem vain, is the thing, and it seems like they're well provided for. Like, they don't seem to be having money issues. So she's kind of like, I don't really think you need to do this. Like, she says later, like, I'm the breadwinner. Like, we're doing fine.
She actually says, I'm the money.
I'm the money, and you are the. I think the thing is I think he doesn't want to be a stay-at-home dad. We don't get really the sense that he is a stay-at-home dad, but that we kind of get a gist of that.
Well, yeah, we piece together. I mean, just based on his physical reaction to when a conflict was being instigated, we can tell that he has a measure of pride in him, like masculine pride. And not being the breadwinner is definitely something that sticks with him. In fact, I think the Motormouth guy in the pub, he wasn't exactly talking about politics. He was talking about a strike that was going on at the mine, and talking about unionizing. And throughout the course of the film, we learn that Liam Neeson was involved in a strike at the mine, and that's actually why he's unemployed right now. So yeah, he's not totally down with the idea of being a stay-at-home dad. And they have a little spat. His reaction to it is to step out onto the porch and have a smoke. And then he comes back inside, and they do the thing where husband and wife lay in bed with the kids in between them, and they whisper to each other. And she basically tells him, like, we'll be all right. Like, I love you, you love me. Money's shouldn't be your biggest concern.
You're tall, it's nice and ropey, we'll be okay.
She's like, I'm happy. I'll always be happy. I don't know about you. And yeah, then they fuck. Cut to Billy Connolly. Really fun tracking shot of him riding a bike in a tracksuit. And he's doing it's like a carnival barker almost. Like he's riding through town and talking about, he's calling out to all the villagers, like there's a big fight, it's coming soon. And he refers to Liam Neeson as the mad miner himself, Danny Schooler. So he's the hype man, and he's got his Eastern European tracksuit. So he meets up with Liam Neeson, and Liam goes out to do some road work. He's got his Eastern European tracksuit on as well.
Is it Eastern European? Because it feels pretty hardcore 90s, like late 80s, early 90s. Is it European?
That could be true. I mean, that was a look, I think, internationally.
Oh, I had that sweatsuit, Trevor. I had that sweatsuit.
I'm sure people in Egypt were doing that, too. Just all over the world. Tracksuit, bright, multicolored tracksuits for all. So, yeah, Liam goes out to do some road work. He's in it. Like, in fact, he told his wife what the fight was, and he refers to it as a bare knuckle fight. And his wife's reaction is like, since when are you a bare knuckle fighter?
Yeah, when do you do that shit?
Yeah, it's like, maybe you did some sparring or something as a conventional boxer, but bare knuckle, who the fuck does that? It's like, you got to be in with some badass people to do that.
Is this legal, Danny? Is it legal?
Danny,
is it legal?
There's a lot of Dannys in this movie, by the way.
He does not look like a Danny. Call him Daniel.
No, I don't think he looks like a Danny, if you ask me.
No. What's his name in not Watchmen, Darkman?
Oh, Peyton.
Peyton? Okay, he's more of a Danny than he is a Peyton.
Peyton, that's nobody's name.
Nobody's name. Peyton Manning. Peyton
that's
Manning
not
is
a
the
name.
only...
That's bullshit. But yeah, they do some road work, and I couldn't help but notice that Liam Neeson runs like a little boy.
Oh.
Like, his gait, he looks like a child. I don't know why.
He's too tall to run.
Yeah, he's too tall to run.
I bet he doesn't dance at weddings either. I bet he's one of those guys.
He's probably that guy that has to, like, bend his knees when he's holding the gal, and it looks like he's just, like, looming over her.
I'm too masculine.
Like it's like watching Bigfoot dance with a child or something.
I'm too masculine to dance at weddings. That's not how it sounds.
I can't do it.
Did Schindler's List come out in '93? This movie came out he was filming this about 3 or 4 years before Schindler's List, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
Wow.
Schindler's List was being filmed concurrently with Jurassic Park, so that sounds about right.
That's crazy. How he went from this movie to Schindler's List.
It's that bone structure, dude.
Man.
I think that's... My mom always said that's why I liked him even when I was a kid. It's like, you just like his nose. I was like, yeah, really? I kind of do.
I never... Yeah. He was never an actor that I cared for. Like my parents would watch his movies. I'm like, I don't really give a shit about this guy. Rob Roy. That was the movie I remember watching with my parents.
Oh, dang. You saw that... How old were you when you saw that?
I was more of a Morgan Freeman head. I was young.
Damn, I mean that movie has some nasty stuff in it.
Because I liked Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, but I don't like Kevin Costner. I didn't like Kevin Costner as a kid. I liked Morgan Freeman's character in that movie more. Odd.
I liked Alan Rickman.
Who didn't? Yeah, I mean,
Alan Rickman was a joy in that film.
Yeah,
like he knew what movie he was in. Everyone else, I'm not so sure, but he was like, "Yep." This is crap.
Kevin Costner didn't know what movie he was in. He doesn't know how to do an English accent.
And then there's Christian Slater, who's just like,
doing his best Jack Nicholson.
Christian Slater. I'm just going to do my really thin Jack Nicholson impression.
I think it's just how he talks. People give him shit about that, like he's just doing a Jack. I think it's just how he talks, guys. It's not a Jack Nicholson impression.
I think it is, but, you know, it's like, I'm sorry, you're not Jack, and you should probably make every effort to not try to be Jack.
Yeah.
You don't want to forever go through your career as Jack Light.
He's actually on Archer in the later seasons as a character.
Well, he does have a distinctive voice. I mean, I feel like he should do more of that if he hasn't already.
He's probably done some Robot Chicken.
I could see that. Yeah. I could totally see that, in fact.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we go out, we do some road work, and then we end up at a coal factory or something. It's like it's basically the mine. He's
out there. Billy Connolly. It cracks me up that all these guys are just riding bicycles around. I had in my head that this was an Irish movie. I'm like, yeah, figures, Irish. Too many DUIs. They all got to ride bikes around because their driver's licenses were revoked.
That's so bad, Kyle.
I know. It's terrible. That's just what was going on in my head. But yeah, they're out at the old mine, and again, I couldn't really hear what they were saying. But what is the exchange he has with Billy Connolly here?
Basically, I mean, I didn't get all the fine details of it too, because Billy Connolly speaks very fast, and they both got these thick accents going. In fact, Liam Neeson is trying to do a Scottish something or other.
Is he?
But he's just so Irish. Like, he just can't help it. Liam Neeson is one of those actors that you do not ask him to be anything but Irish.
What's his accent? What's his accent in Schindler's List?
I've never seen it. I can't attest to it.
Gosh, you shouldn't have said that on the air. You might want to edit that out after you.
I might have to. They might come for me.
I mean, if I ever see you like just in passing, like on a date, I'm like, oh, Trevor's in there on a date right now. I think I'm gonna go in there and tell her that he hasn't seen Schindler's List.
Oh, you son of a bitch! She'll throw water in my face.
Oh gosh, she's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, actually, if she didn't have a reaction, then I might have to walk out on her.
What Schindler's
List? Hang on, you're not upset that I haven't seen Schindler's List? It's like, okay, date over.
Do you know what Schindler's List is? No. Have you seen Jurassic Park? No. Is that with Chris Pratt?
It's like, I
don't think this is gonna work out.
I've had a really great time.
Oh man.
It would be more like, no, you'd have to go big on that one. You'd have to, like, flip the table and just, like, point at her and do the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Just like,
I was working at my buddy's restaurant. We had a very young girl who was working there, and she was a film major, which I was like, oh, interesting. I tried to talk to her about movies and stuff like that, but she was too grounded in, like, movies now. So she was talking about a friend of hers who went and saw... Blade Runner. It was around when Blade Runner 2049 was in theaters. So she's like, we started talking about Blade Runner at work, and she's like, my friend went and saw that. She said that 2049 was way better than the original. I'm like, whoa, what? What are you saying? And she said, yeah, they said it's so much better. I'm like, have you seen it yet? She's like, no, I haven't seen it. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Go watch the movie, then have an opinion. And they're also wrong. 2049 is great, but it's not better.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. It's like, first question that comes to mind is, why did you watch it? Like, knowing full well that it's a sequel to a groundbreaking film that has influenced so much. Why would you do that to yourself? So the exchange at the coal mine is basically that it's just a character moment wherein we can see that Liam is kind of lamenting his loss of his career as a fucking miner, I guess. Like, you can tell based on his connection to the community that he felt some sort of solidarity in working there or something. It was like home for him. Whereas Billy Connolly has dreams of, he has aspirations that are greater than that. And I think he even mentions that he's been to America and he finds that lifestyle more appealing.
He's like, stay positive, like the Americans do.
Yeah, that comes in a little later, but yeah, he's a hot dogger. He wants to hit it big, and from a visual standpoint, that's been demonstrated to us just based on his attire. So Liam is, the consummate, humble villager. Billy Connolly wants to be something more. So following their exchange at the coal mine, Liam comes home with Connolly in tow, and as it turns out, his wife left a note for him. Not a happy note either. She took the kids. We don't actually see what's written on the note, but presumably she wasn't happy with him taking the bare-knuckle fucking fight, and she took the kids, I think, to go live with her parents for a little while. I like Billy Connolly's reaction to this. He's like, "Stay put. I'll put the tea on."
It's Scotland, dude. They don't drink alcohol for everything like in Ireland.
I just like that though, where he's like, "I know this is really traumatic. Stay put. I got the tea. You'll be fine." So cut to Mr. Mason, and he is watching a horse race, and there's a sunglassed man in the room with him who much later we learn his name is Mr. Coven. And they're talking about gambling. And just based on Mr. Mason's face acting, we can tell that gambling and things of this nature seem to bring him some sort of joy.
That sort of thing is his bag, baby.
Yeah, he revels in it.
Yeah.
And also, based on his reaction to the horse race, just, again, with his face, no words are expressed, we can tell that he lost a bet on this horse race, and Mr. Coven gets up and whispers in his ear, basically I hope you pick fighters better than you do horses, because you just lost. So from that we learned that these two are betting on the bare knuckle contest. So Mr. Mason's fighter is Liam, and Mr. Coven's fighter has yet to be seen.
I think we could make a supercut of this in Diggstown. I think you could splice in some Bruce Dern and what's his face? I can't even think of it now.
Oh, James Woods?
James Woods, yeah. I think you can make a supercut of this movie.
Oh man, that would be awesome. The big man meets Diggstown, or the big man goes to Diggstown.
Diggstown, yeah. The big man goes to Diggstown.
Yeah, that should be a 30, 40 years later sequel where Mr. Mason pulls up in his car into Diggstown and Robert Guillaume comes out to visit him.
I would like a third.
Who do we have here?
I would like a 30 for 30 on Lou Gossett Jr.'s character in.
That would be amazing, actually.
Right? 30 for 30s with fictional boxers, fictional
athletes. They did
athletes.
That with Rocky IV, didn't they?
I don't know. Still, Steamin' Willie Beeman, maybe that would be. I would watch that one.
No, I'm almost positive they actually did that with Rocky IV, where they told the story of Rocky Balboa going to Soviet Russia to fight Ivan Drago in an exhibition.
Speaking of
that's
Ivan
an amazing
Drago.
idea, though. Speaking of Drago?
Yeah. We'll get to it, though.
Oh, did you have something to say about that?
When we were introduced to who Liam Neeson's going to be fighting in this movie, he's watching him through a fence, and I'm just like, oh, he's got to fight Drago, huh? I always associate the opponent with Drago.
Okay, I could see that. I mean, Drago's the consummate, overwhelmingly physical opponent.
Yeah.
Just, from an aesthetic standpoint, it's there's no fucking way.
Remember Mark
Wahlberg, your boy the Mountain or whatever.
Remember Marky Mark when he was going to fight that guy in The Fighter? His mom and his brother were like, nah, he's been on the couch. He's just been sitting around doing shit. And then they pop that robe off, and he looks like he's on steroids. I don't know, man. He doesn't look like he's been on the couch. No, you're fine. You're fighting up. I think he was fighting up 10 pounds, maybe 15 pounds even.
I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly which contest that was supposed to be.
That's when he got his ass beat.
I will go on record and say that the biggest sin committed by that film is that it didn't have Arturo Gatti in the story. You gotta have Arturo Gatti in there. That was the high water mark of Mickey Ward's career. I mean, he had multiple fights of the year, but his trilogy with Gatti was it's half of why I'm a fucking boxing fan.
Gotcha.
But I can't remember which contest, the one with the guy who came in heavier than him. I can't remember who that was supposed to be, but more than likely they weighed in the same size, but somebody hit that Pedialyte or whatever real hard.
No, they told him to. His mom and his brother so that he wasn't going to make weight.
They threw him in there like at a higher weight.
Yeah, they threw him in at a higher weight.
Okay,
it was
probably like 154, and Mickey, I think the bulk of his career was at 140. And guys around that weight range, just because they show up 140, they're probably going to show up like near 160 on fight night. So if you're fighting a guy who's naturally 154, he's probably going to show up like 170-ish.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's a big difference. Like, I thought it was really funny actually that Mickey Ward was a 140-pound fighter and Marky Mark shows up all super jacked. It's
yeah.
Like, 200. You don't really look much like Mickey Ward, but okay.
You look about 215. You look like a heavyweight.
Yeah, you look a little bloated for a 140-pound guy, but fucking Marky Mark.
You look a little HGH-y for 145. So sorry, we got sidetracked there. Took the kids to the mom's, and I think he goes to his job interview now.
Yeah, Liam's definitely depressed, but you can tell that his wife leaving did push him in a certain direction where it's like, oh man, I got to get my family back. So even though he missed the interview because it was the day that he had the fight at the pub, he puts on a jacket and he goes anyway, which is kind of a weird thing to do, but it shows that he's trying to make up for it. So he shows up, and what kind of a business did this look like? Like is it like a laundry or a dry cleaner or something?
It looks like a like they would do dry cleaning for like restaurants and stuff like that. Like we do linens and napkins. It just looked like a lot of big stuff, a lot of big bags. Yeah, so
something like that.
They probably have to do deliveries for restaurants and stuff like that. But I mean, how far away is the nearest restaurant?
Yeah, I know. Like that, this village clearly doesn't have much in the way of upscale or large restaurants that would require that kind of stuff. They
eat what looks like fish and chips out of paper at somebody's house. It looks like somebody's
wads
house.
Of paper.
Yeah.
That looked like a house, by the way. So yeah, Liam shows up, and the interviewer is a little puzzled because he's like, "Your interview was yesterday. What are you doing here?" But he humors him. And he tries to poke Liam about his work experience, of which he seems to have none as a driver. Liam does have 13 years of experience as a coal miner, but this gentleman doesn't seem to care much about that. And he does comment that Mr. Neeson has a criminal record.
It's not criminal, it's political.
Yep, that was Liam Neeson's retort. Not a criminal record, a political record. And I mean, we can tell right from the get-go this isn't going to go well.
No.
Interviewer is very dismissive of him. Liam picks up on the scent. So he actually mocks the interviewer and shows him his ass. Says, like, I think I got my ass trained up to be a driver. Is that enough? And yeah, it doesn't end well. And then Liam storms off because he can tell that, this ain't going anywhere.
No.
And on his way out, he's doing some like head movement drills on the fixtures in the ceiling, so you can tell, like, just from a visual standpoint, that's like, yep, okay, he's all in on fighting now.
Gotta be.
And at this point, a couple of important pieces of information are doled out. One of Mr. Mason's goons is driving alongside Liam while he's doing his road work, and he leaks the name of Liam's opponent. It is Cuddy Dorson, which anybody by the name of Cuddy probably don't want to fuck with.
No.
And then we get the scene that Kyle had mentioned earlier, where Liam and Billy Connolly are eating. They're eating something, and it took me a second to realize what it was, because it just looks like white flakes of something. And they're like standing in front of what looks like a house, and they have these wads of paper that they're eating white flecks of shit from. And it brought me back to Green Street Hooligans, where I'm like, what the fuck are they eating?
Oh, I think I figured out what Bover was eating in Green Street Hooligans. I think what they're eating in this is fish and chips, because you can get fish and chips just in newspaper.
I figured it out because the next shot is pulled back a bit, and there's some neon signage that says fish and chips on it.
Fish and chips? Okay.
Yeah, so they were eating fish and chips.
I think Bover was eating Indian food.
It was either Indian food or mashed peas.
I think it was sog, because I just had sog a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, that's what Bover was eating.
They do have that green sauce.
I think it was sog.
Okay, so, I hope it was, because if it was mashed peas, it's like...
That's fucking disgusting.
That's fucking disgusting, Bobber. No. you should be ashamed of yourself.
For more than one reason.
And then I believe we cut to Mr. Mason. He's at a giant church or like a library or something.
Yeah, he's not... It's a library, but he's not in a church, and he's not in a library for any good reason. So
yeah, I don't exactly know why he's here. This seems like a place where you'd hand something off to someone, maybe. But he's just hanging out in there, and the fella that leaked the name to Liam Neeson of Cuddy Dorson, he shows up and he reports that Liam's conditioning's looking good. He's doing his road work and stuff, but he'd probably be doing better if he had a reason to fight.
Yeah.
And as we've seen from earlier instances in the film, Danny Schooler seems to be fueled by his righteous instincts, I guess. Like, he seems to be a person who tries to toe the line, as in crossing the line, and, be a good person whenever he can. And at this point, we get a parade. And I thought this was kind of cute. Like, I enjoyed this scene.
I'm assuming this is what happens every time McGregor goes to fight. Like, Ireland just goes fucking nuts.
I'm sure.
Yeah, he gets the townie parade. They're all like, "You're fucking awesome, Danny. We don't really know what you're gonna go do, but you're gonna do
joke. Like, no shit. Like, they don't even know what the fuck he's doing.
No clue what he's gonna go do, but you're gonna go fight. I hope it's licensed. We'd love it if it were licensed, but we'll take it if it's not." And they're just a bunch of old ladies. I think it's just a bunch of people who have a crush on him.
Well, he's the tallest, lankiest Irishman in this Scottish village, so yeah.
Wiriest penis.
It's wiry.
It's wiry.
Wiry.
It's wiry, but it's fierce. So after the parade, he's doing some training and he spies on Ivan Drago.
That comes
Cuddy.
A little later.
Oh yeah, really? Because that's my next
little bit
note.
later.
So
a little bit later.
I have no idea what happens next then.
We arrive in Glasgow.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out the aesthetic difference between the village and Glasgow, because like the color palette changes drastically.
Does
everything becomes more dingy and just dark, I guess.
Well, there's stuff. There's stuff in Glasgow. There's nothing where he lives.
Where he lives, usually the sun is out for the most part, and there's a lot more greens. Whereas Glasgow, it's just kind of gloomy. Like, it has that stereotypical like London fog kind of look to it. And the walls of his seedy hotel are purple.
Yeah, they've in Trainspotting, they stay in a very similar hotel. And when I was watching this, I'm like, that's just like the Trainspotting hotel.
Well, there's a bridge in this movie that I'm curious if it has any connection to Lock, Stock.
It does look like it, doesn't it?
It does kind of look like the bridge. It's probably not, but just it's a bridge, and it's in the UK. And that shows you how much experience I have with UK locations. But yeah, then we go to training, and Liam is put through his paces at this boxing gym. We get to see him do some mitt work. We do some cross-cutting between him training on the mitts, him sparring, and an overhead shot of his hands being wrapped. It's a nice little montage.
I like that piece. That was nice.
No, I enjoyed the editing in the sequence, and I also enjoyed that he looks good on the mitts, but when he's sparring, he gets tuned up pretty good.
He's getting his ass beat by this guy. This guy is also like 5'8", too. Like, he's much shorter than him.
Yeah, and I mean, you can tell from the way this sequence was shot. It's like, yeah, he there was some contact going on there. He had headgear on, but this guy was tuning him up. And I like that because it demonstrates that it's like, this guy knows how to fight. He has fought, but his heart's not in it at this point. So he's got the mechanics down, but the spirit's not there. And by the way, I believe we were told earlier that the reason he went to prison is because he punched a cop during one of the strikes at the coal mine.
That sounds very familiar. Oh, that's the excuse that Robert De Niro gives Nick Nolte's assistant or colleague in Cape Fear. He's like, oh, there was a strike, and I just got a little rough with one of the cops, and then, holy shit, does that go dark pretty quick.
Real quick.
If anybody tells you, like, oh, no, I was just in prison for a strike, and I just popped a cop, and they put me in prison for that. Nope, don't trust that.
Yeah, there might be a couple more chapters to that story that you haven't been informed of.
He's going to bite your cheek off, yeah.
So at this point, we meet Ivan Drago. And would you like to describe Cuddy Dorson for us?
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. He's... you don't really get a good visual look. He just kind of looks... like
we're seeing him through a gate at distance.
So what I took from this scene was that he's just hitting the punching bag outside. It's cold outside. I mean, he's not as warmed up as he could be, and he's putting some moves on this bag. He's also I know he kicks it and knees it, but does he headbutt it as well?
Yes, he does.
I was surprised. I didn't see any headbutting when they actually do fight. I know
there are a couple.
I didn't really notice it.
It's not a huge element to the choreography, but there are a couple from both players, actually.
I know that's a big one. I know that's one that you kind of have to catch in regular box. Well, that was the problem with Tyson versus Holyfield, was that Holyfield kept headbutting him, and Tyson Tyson was like, hey, he's headbutting me, so when he got back with him was he bit his ear.
No, Holyfield was known to lead with his head. I used to joke that they need to put a third glove on his head.
On his head.
It's like he's got 3 arms in there.
Well, I mean, this is bare knuckle boxing. This is just a hair shy of a street fight,
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of repercussions if you break the rules. So yeah, he's practicing a little bit, and I think he's kind of like, well, fuck, he's kneeing the bag, and well, it's fucking bare knuckle boxing, dude. We're gonna have to change your game up a little bit. This isn't licensed.
Yeah. The commentary from Liam's handlers at this point is while they're watching Cuddy Dorson tune up this heavy bag outdoors, one of them mentions that Dorson has a fucked eyeball. One of his eyes is gone, basically. I mean, it's still in the socket, but it doesn't function. And he apparently was a professional boxer at one point, but when his eye went out, so did his career. And then we go back to the gym, and they explain some of the rules to Liam. That basically the rounds go until somebody falls down. And yeah, the rule set for what types of strikes are allowed is very lax.
Very lax.
Very lax. And in fact, Liam Neeson's sparring partner does some of that dirty shit to him, and his reaction to it, like being basically kneed in the stomach and tripped, he's not too happy about it. No. And in fact, I believe his reply when they tell him what the rules are, he's like, I'll beat him by the book. And I loved, I guess you'd call it his trainer or his corner man. His response to this comment is, when you're up to your eyes in blood and shite, son, you'll be no gentleman. So he's basically letting him know that it's like, maybe you don't understand what you've gotten yourself into.
Yeah.
And then immediately following this, we can see that Liam's he's in a pissy mood. I mean, I would be too if I was getting beat up and sparring every day, and and having go out running and have to manage my diet. Basically, if I was living as a fighter, there's a reason why those people live Spartan lifestyles. It's because it gives you that mean streak that you need when you need to call on it. But Liam says Billy the dog farts in the night, and it's pissing me off. So he tries to hand the dog off to Billy Connolly.
Fucking Billy Connolly.
Yeah. So he gives him the dog, and he says, "Take this to my wife, because the fucking dog keeps farting at night, and it's keeping me up." Like, no joke, that's what he says.
He needs to sleep.
Yeah, he needs to sleep. God damn it! So Billy Connolly tries to take Billy the dog back to Beth, Liam Neeson's wife, and he shows up just in time to see her leaving her parents' house to go gallivanting about town with Hugh fucking Grant.
Hugh Grant. I saw his name in the titles. I'm like, well, that can't be the same Hugh Grant. No,
that's what I thought too. I was like, 1990. I mean, wasn't he a big deal at the time? It's like,
no, he was almost a big deal.
But yeah, Hugh fucking Grant is hanging out with Liam Neeson's wife. I would not want to be Hugh Grant when Liam Neeson finds you.
But he never does. So yeah, I didn't even realize it was her. I was watching it, I'm like, okay, Hugh Grant's... I thought they were introducing Hugh Grant. I didn't realize they were showing that the wife was going out with Hugh Grant. I'm like, oh. So later when she shows up at the bar, I'm like, oh, that's his wife. Okay, Hugh Grant's not important in this. Because I'm used to Hugh Grant being important in a movie.
Yeah, actually, it's very strange seeing him in a movie, for me anyway, where he doesn't really factor into the plot at all. Like, he's in maybe 3 scenes and he speaks maybe once. So Mason... Mr. Mason, that is, and Danny Schooler, they have a talk in the gym, and this is kind of a pivotal conversation where Mason's basically trying to spell out that life is hard and being righteous doesn't really pay off. Like, your objective in life should be to get a leg up, not to be a good person. He has some pretty good fucking lines in here, like, God's a fucking hard case. Look at how he works. And at this point, Mason asks him, have you ever lost a fight? And Liam Neeson confesses that the only fight he's ever lost was to his dad. And he basically tells a story about he was like a young man. He was in a foul mood or was feeling particularly invincible in that moment, and he just struck his father. And then his dad took him out back and beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Seems like he had it coming. And he said that the lesson he learned from that moment was that if you can't fight for a good reason, then keep your hands in your pockets. That's what his dad told him. And I loved Mason's reply to this, because just this notion of like adhering to your moral code and being righteous. Mason replies to him like, "For a man that's unemployed, you sure have a taste for luxuries." I was like, yeah, wow. That's cutting. So at this point, Billy Connolly, did you happen to notice his clothes in this scene when he's walking the dog?
He did have some pretty terrible articles of clothing throughout this movie.
I think this is probably the most hideous.
I didn't notice his outfit in this particular instance, but I did notice at one point, like, wow, that is an awful outfit.
It was probably this one, because it's a purple suit with like a gaudy flower print tie. And he's walking Billy the dog, and he's trying to think of what to do with the dog, because he was supposed to give it to Beth. He was supposed to give it to Liam Neeson's wife, but he was scared off when he saw Hugh Grant. So what does he do with the dog, Kyle?
Well, he says, "Don't piss on my shoes," and I thought it was pretty funny.
Don't piss on my shoes.
I thought it was pretty funny. But I'm watching this with my girlfriend and my dogs, mind you, and he has the dog's leash around his neck, and he's standing at a bridge. My girlfriend's like, "Is he gonna hang the dog?" I'm like, what the fuck is this about, Trevor? Are you kidding me?
Oh man, you thought I was that bad a person?
I'm like, okay. So I'm like, well, maybe not. Maybe he's just thinking about it. And then he throws the dog off the bridge. Both my girlfriend and I were like, what the fuck, dude? You didn't need to throw the dog off the bridge, and you didn't need a dog in this movie. It was a very frustrating movie for me to watch because of the dog. Just because the dog was in almost every scene, and my dogs go crazy.
Yeah, we like I said, we haven't really highlighted it that much, but Billy the dog, the one who farts at night, was in pretty much every sequence that featured Liam Neeson up to this point in the film.
Seriously, he's
ever
running with him.
He's
walking with him to the car. He's everywhere. So he throws the dog off the bridge, and I think we come back to Liam Neeson's hotel room or wherever he's staying.
We go to a party first.
What party?
It's just a shindig that Mr. Mason threw. It's like a coke party, basically.
Okay.
Billy Connolly takes Liam Neeson in there. They're both suited up. Connolly's there to, get himself a gal. Liam's just like, what happened? Like, did you get the dog to my wife? Billy Connolly tells him a lie. And then we head back to the hotel, and Connolly has himself a woman.
Yeah.
And Liam just wants to fucking sleep. Connolly gets to fucking, and next door, Liam is looking out the window out into the rainy streets, and he sees a fight going on. And his reaction to it, like his body language, suggests that he wants to go do something about it, because he like makes a move for the door, like to head outside. And then, sure enough, Billy the dog, who farts at night, shows up in front of his door in the hotel.
Steph and I were very relieved to see the dog made it back.
As was I. Probably not as much so, but yeah, Billy the dog lives.
Yeah. So Liam Neeson's, he's pretty pissed. He's like, he told me the dog made it over there. What the fuck is the dog here? So he goes over to Billy Connolly's room as he's pleasuring a lady and confronts him about it.
Yeah, he extracts him from her and, confronts him.
Yeah, you've got him pinned up against the wall, and he's questioning him, and he's like, oh, goddammit, I just didn't want to go all the way over there or whatever. Can I put my pants on? He's like, no, fuck that. And Liam Neeson...
I'm sorry, all I heard was, hoi cha cha toi, hoi cha toi 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 toi.
Yeah, pretty much. And Neeson's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not going to do the fight. I think that's what he's basically getting at. He's like, nah, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, Liam storms off. You can tell he's not in it at all. And he heads off to a bar. This doesn't look like a pub. This is like a bar.
This looks like a strip club.
Yeah, essentially. In fact, this is where the pink lighting comes back again. And we get this funny little sequence where he sits down next to, I believe it's an Indian gentleman, at the bar. And, I don't know, they just kind of sit there together. And then we cut back to the hotel. And pretty funny scene. Mr. Mason walks in on Billy Connolly, who is getting what appears to be a blowjob with the woman under the covers. So you can't see her there. You just see his head, and the covers are like up to his chest. And Mr. Mason sits down on the bed, and this woman's head emerges from under the covers, and Mr. Mason tells her, "Don't mind me, Sandra." And she just says...
Goes back up.
She just says, "Yes, Mr. Mason," and she goes back down. And gets back to work, apparently. But just the nonchalant nature of it, where he just like walks in, he's just like, "Don't mind me, go back to what you were doing.
Do it fine."
It's like, proceed. And he wants to know what happened to Liam, because he saw that he left the party with Billy Connolly, but he doesn't know where he is right now. And obviously he has some level of investment in him. So we cut back to Liam Neeson at the bar with this Indian guy, and classic bar talk. They're just talking back and forth about great Scots throughout history, like great inventors and deeds of Scots. And they're just listing shit off, and I was like, that's kind of cute. Like, that seems like a conversation you'd have in a bar.
Yeah, maybe.
And then Liam Neeson discovers his wife hanging out with Hugh Grant downstairs. They don't see each other, but he sees them. And he storms out. Billy Connolly chases him outside. We have a pretty cool tracking shot that goes under a bridge.
Yeah, I liked this shot.
Yeah, it's like mostly dark because it's under a fucking bridge, and the bridge is only like 8-9 feet above them. So it's a very low hanging bridge. It's completely shrouded in darkness, and Liam Neeson's like just totally out of it. He doesn't want anything to do with this fight anymore. So remember what was told to Mr. Mason. In order to get Liam Neeson to perform, to the best of his capabilities, he needs a reason to fight.
Yeah, so they take
yeah
breakfast time. You have to say at breakfast time they take him to. It was really weird the way they cut to this next scene. I'm just like, what the fuck is happening now? Like, who is this? And this kid's running up, and there's some people standing up on a little bit of a cliff, not much.
There's a fire barrel, so they're up to no good.
Yeah, there's a fire barrel, and it's Mr. Mason and a couple of other people, and Liam Neeson, and this kid comes up, and he's like, "Hey, Donnie, whatever, pull up your shirt there," and he shows his arm, and he's got track marks in there, and he's like, "Yeah, been feeding you that junk?" He's like, "Yeah, it's that guy that you're gonna be boxing." And he's like, "Oh yeah, oh okay. How old are you, by the way?" He's like, "Oh, I'm 13." And he's like, "Well, here's a few bucks. Go get you something to eat." Basically, just to get a rise out of Liam Neeson. Like, look, this guy that you're gonna fight. I mean, this guy, he's selling heroin to kids. Like, I grew up here. Like, I feel something for these kids.
Yeah, we're doing it for the children.
We're doing it for the children. Doing it for Johnny.
Gotta do it for Johnny, man. Gotta do it for Johnny. Fucking outsiders. Did you have to watch that in school, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, I'm fine.
That cast is stacked.
It might be one of the most stacked cast. I mean, that might be Black Hawk Down. I think is the only other cast that's that stacked.
I mean, yeah, in terms of number of recognizable faces, Black Hawk Down is very high up there. Saving Private Ryan also. In fact, any war movie, really.
I don't know, Giovanni Ribisi and Vin Diesel were like unheard of to me at that point, and Hopham, but everybody in Outsiders was recognized.
Nathan Fillion and
Nathan Fillion's in there.
Yeah, and Ted Danson, everybody knew though.
Maybe I think it's a toss up between Black Hawk Down and Saving
Paul
Private Ryan.
Giamatti, I don't think was too much of a thing too at the same time.
I knew who he was. Actually, he does stand out because he should not be in that movie. Like he just doesn't fit in there. I mean, he does fine, but you're just like Paul Giamatti.
Oh, I mean, he's grumbling about his shins the whole time.
I got a hitchhiker in my shoe. I've been here for 4 hours.
Got old woman shins.
What's the matter with you?
If you got bad knees, you probably shouldn't be running around a battlefield.
He's the one that scolds Giovanni. He's like, "Wait, what happens? You get shot, then nobody's gonna be able to take care of anybody." Yeah.
He's very good at scolding people.
Yeah, he did scold him.
I'm okay. You're okay. 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 Yeah, Billy Connolly tells Liam Neeson that he needs to adopt a more American mindset of just be okay. Everything will be okay. So yeah, Mr. Mason is trying to use this heroin element as a means of motivating Liam Neeson. It's like, yeah, we're doing it for the children. It's like by winning this fight, you'll be pushing us one step closer to defeating those evil people that are supplying our people with drugs. I mean, as a viewer, you can tell he's pretty much full of shit. But
yeah.
As Liam Neeson on the spot, looking at a 12-year-old with track marks, it's pretty hard not to be affected by that. So I can see how that could work.
Mr. Mason, you're a good guy.
I love you. Always have.
Yeah. His wife later in the movie.
Yeah, she doesn't finish it though.
I did. Oh, I finished it for her.
I finished it too in my notes. Oh, Scottish accent saying "I love you." There's a little bit more that needs to be said there. Yeah. I'm sorry, but that's not the complete expression. There's a bit more.
So, Eye of the Tiger starts playing in our heads. We know what's happening. Liam Neeson's decided to take the fight. He's going to do it.
You can practically hear the
so they're going down to the docks, it looks like, and I guess that's where you can have illegal boxing matches is down with the docks. Cause
I think since the beginning of time, that's where it's been done.
I mean, I learned that from Gangs New York. Is like, where does the city end? Like, where can we go? Down with the docks. So that's a piece that together. So I have my notes just like, is unlicensed boxing legal only at the docks? But yeah, so we get there, and honestly, like I was expecting a little bit more of a crowd, like more like the crowd in Snatch. Like there's a bit more people here. People are making bets, trying to make some money, but there isn't a huge crowd at this match.
Well, I mean, it's a very off the radar kind of thing.
Well, yeah, but
I mean, it's only going to attract a certain crowd of people, but it may be a budget issue. I'm not sure. But yeah, bare knuckle boxing is not going to be for everyone, and I'm sure there's some kind of rule where it's like if you aren't betting, you're not going to be here.
This isn't a spectator sport.
Yeah, no, we're not here for the glory of the competitive spirit. We're here to have
no gloves,
money change hands.
No spectators.
But yeah, directly preceding the fight, we get a scene at Beth's house with her parents, and my God, this spread of food.
Yeah.
The sweets on display, like my teeth hurt.
I was going to say my teeth were hurting watching this. Yeah.
Like my God, like I know the Brits have a reputation for having a sweet tooth and shit like that. But damn, this was bad.
It's quite a spread. Well, I mean, they got the kids there. So Hugh Grant is a doctor, and his wife, Beth's mom is all about him. Like she's just like, ooh, he's a doctor. She's like she's smitten. Like she's just like, he's the greatest. He literally hung the sun. Like he's the greatest thing ever. He's a doctor.
Yeah, meanwhile, Beth is like, but he's 6 inches shorter.
Yeah, 6 inches shorter. And he's got girth. You know,
yeah.
She's not a girth.
I'm a length gal.
She's a length gal, not a girth gal. But she just is kind of turned off. Like you can just tell Beth's just kind of like, I don't know. Her mom says something, and it gets under her skin. I don't know what she says, but Lou, I want to call him Lou Grant. Lou Grant, he offers some kind of tasty treat to the boy, and the boy's like, is it cool? I think he does, and then the little girl doesn't want it. You can just kind of tell that they're like, maybe not so much with the Lou Grant.
Yeah, you can tell like the boy in particular shoots his mom a look like, is it okay if I have this, even though there's this whole spread of food. She comments that like during the coal mine strikes, she and her hubby were basically living on boiled nothing. So just from an aesthetic standpoint, like the opulence that's on display in this scene at her parents' house, you can tell it doesn't sit well with her. Like she's not used to living in luxury, and I don't think she particularly wants it. She just wants her guy.
Yeah.
But my note here says most boring white people house ever.
Oh, it's awful.
It reminded me of the parents from My Big Fat Greek Wedding a bit. It's just they're just the most vanilla people that have ever been.
We have a bakery down the street called Bunt. Yeah, exactly.
Bunt?
Bunt. It's Bunt. It's Bunt something, but every time I go by it, I go Bun.
So then we get to the docs-ish. This is actually a really great montage, if you ask me. I really like this. So again, the score comes into play.
The score is good. I'll give you the score.
Ennio Morricone's music starts playing, and it's ominous. We're meant to feel something in this instance, where it's like something bad's getting ready to happen, or something's on the horizon. And we get this really cool montage where we get just like a couple of shots of Liam Neeson eating a big plate of pasta, and there's like a waiter standing behind him, and then we cut to the opposite angle of who's in front of Liam, and he's sitting at a table by himself, by the way. And in front of him, though, is like a long dining table of Mr. Mason and all the people who've been training Liam Neeson up to this point, so all of his handlers. And it looks like the Last Supper or something. And the vibe you get from it is something akin to like he's being fattened up for like the slaughter or something. 'Cause, like, he even gives like a knowing smile, like, oh, this is like a last meal kind of situation. And then we cross-cut back and forth between him and Mr. Mason like piling into a car and heading off to the venue, and then we cut back and forth between their travel and the venue at the docks, and they're like setting up the arrangements and stuff and like clearing space, and there's like a announcer and a timekeeper and everything, and it's just this nice little montage that's very moody. Like a lot of it's music, because this score perpetuates like a single track of music for like 5 minutes or something. It's very long, and it keeps playing until Liam Neeson gets to the venue, and we get a couple of lingering shots of him and Cuddy Dorson, his opponent, seeing each other in proper, like for the first time. And there's no words exchanged. Like all the dialogue during this scene is just like ambient chatter, and like the ring announcer and all the people betting, like Mr. Mason and Mr. Coven exchanging quips and stuff. But Liam Neeson and Cuddy Dorson, the two people who are about to fight, not a fucking word for the past 5 minutes. And the music just keeps rolling along until Liam Neeson and Cuddy Dorson are standing face to face, and the timekeeper starts the countdown to begin the contest. And just that whole montage, like, I got really sucked into it. I was like, that's how you build up to a fight.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the fight.
Yeah. The editing in this was inconsistent. Like the pace of the fight, it was hard to follow. I'm like, who's hitting who. I don't know if it was just to me like to show that it was pretty equal, but I don't know. It was hard to follow. I'm like, who just got the hit on that one? I don't know. Liam Neeson.
The choreography is very raw. Like
Yeah,
it's not very visually astounding or meant to be particularly flashy. It's very utilitarian.
yeah.
A big aesthetic difference between the two of them is, of course, Liam Neeson is the taller of the two. He's very lanky. He's all greased up and shirtless. He's wearing good old gray sweatpants. That's what I want to be wearing when I'm in a life or death contest.
Yeah, right.
And Cuddy has a black wife beater. He's a ginger, I think. He's a bearded gentleman with obviously one eye that the iris is just pure blue. You can tell that the lights have gone out in that one. And he's a built dude. Like, you can tell he's a rugged gentleman.
He reminds me of like Chuck Liddell, where he,
a little bit, yeah.
He doesn't have an athletic body. He doesn't even look super muscular, but he looks like he'll break your neck from a punch. Like,
yeah, he's got that like trucker body type.
Yeah. Like his arms aren't even big, and
Yeah.
like he does not look like he's in good shape. But yeah, he looks pretty rough.
Yeah, he looks tough. Like he looks like one of those guys that's like late in career George Foreman, where it's like, yeah, he looks like a teddy bear, but you need to understand that under that keg, there's a lot of muscle. It's all just underneath the surface. There's power there. It's a power belly, damn it.
It's a power belly.
So in a true bad guy fashion, I believe the opening move to begin the contest is Cuddy spitting in Liam Neeson's face. He lands a couple shots to the body, and then they square off and dance around each other for a little while, and Liam starts taking advantage of that length, starts landing some jabs. I really like the quiet during the fight, because, again, the music stops right before the fight, but it picks up again as soon as we start exchanging a bit. But it's very methodical, very understated music, and there's no crowd chatter at this point. Like it's like a Japanese boxing contest, where the crowd is very respectful and very quiet until something actually happens.
It's very quiet.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever seen the Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson fight, it's eerie how quiet it is for like such a high profile contest. But this allows us to hear some like incidental dialogue, some like taunts that are exchanged back and forth between the two fighters. It's because it's so quiet, it makes it seem like very intimate, very personal. And then we get introduced to the way the rules work in this particular fight. Cuddy knocks Liam down, and of course he kicks him while he's down, because again he's being framed as the bad guy in this equation. So the way this fight works is rounds have no length, but you get a 30-second break every time somebody goes down. And I believe there's a 10-second knockdown rule. So it's like if you can't get to your feet within 10 seconds, then you lose. But the only way you can catch a break is if somebody falls down. So by falling, they both earn by Liam Neeson going down, they earn a 30-second break. And I'm not going to... I mean, I actually did take notes on like every beat in this fight, but I don't imagine you'd want to go into all of it. But this is about a 10-minute sequence. It's a very back and forth affair. Cuddy is mostly, relying on some dirty tactics, quote unquote dirty, because I mean there really are no rules as far as I can tell. Whereas Liam is more hesitant to go down on that level. But there are probably 7 or 8 downs in this fight, and like I said, this whole sequence is probably 10 minutes, which is quite an achievement. When it comes to structuring a fight scene, especially in Western cinema. That's not something you see very often. But were there any moments in here, like highlights, that you wanted to point out, Kyle?
No. I didn't care for the choreography in this. I think I've seen it better. I think it was better in Undisputed 2. Because it's evolved so much more from here. I did like the lighting. I did appreciate that. You can definitely get those abs. Those abs are popping on Liam Neeson. I didn't even know he had abs. I I kind of did like the atmosphere, though. I will agree with that. It is very like eerily quiet when they're fighting, which it was just kind of odd coming from like I've seen movies with bare knuckle boxing, and it's just fucking chaos. It's just and like everybody's just like shh, they're fighting, be quiet, just let them duke it out. Yeah, all in all, the fight sequence was okay.
Yeah, I mean, the fighting itself isn't why you watch the movie. It's more just the feeling, I guess. Because, I mean, I look at this scene as like almost like a descent into hell. Like,
yeah, a little bit.
And, I mean, there is a spiritual element to it where I really like that it starts off very calm and structured, but during the last stanza in the fight, we actually get this really beautiful overhead shot of the crowd actually stepping inward.
Yeah,
and creating a physical barrier, because it needs to be said that this fight is conducted on like a concrete floor with overhead lighting, and they have quite a bit of space to maneuver around. They don't make much use of it, but in the last stanza of the fight, the audience creates like a physical barrier, and it becomes a very intimate, like enclosed space where it's almost like claustrophobic. And like Liam Neeson's acting in the sequence like points out to us that that element of righteousness to his character is very rapidly being tossed aside in favor of just survival instincts. Because, like I said, he starts relying on some questionable tactics in terms of moral code kind of stuff. And by the end of the fight, they're basically just on their knees holding each other up and slugging it out. There's no tact, there's no strategy. It's just kind of whoever lands the last punch wins. And sure enough, Liam Neeson does in fact win. He basically gets Cuddy on the ground and just punches him in the face until he can't move anymore. And Liam Neeson's expression kind of tells us that I guess he's glad that he won, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure he's not too happy about how he went about doing it. In fact, while he's punching Cuddy on the ground, he like cradles his head and like they do like a forehead to forehead kind of thing where it's almost like an expression of kinship where it's like, I know I'm basically trying to kill you right now, but I don't feel good about it. If that makes any difference for you. And yeah, Liam wins the fight. The celebration plays out in silence with only the score, and he like lets out a primal scream while the crowd is hoisting him up, and his facial expression kind of tells us that, again, happy he won, not too happy about how he went about doing it. And then we cut to him in a milk bath.
Yeah. He just wakes up like he was the water was probably very relaxing. He woke up and just like, oh fuck, shit, I'm in the bathtub. And he still has on his gloves. And then a lady opens up the door to his little bathroom. It's a really nice bathroom. Like he's got an upgrade. She comes in and turns on the lights, and she's in a robe. So you're like, oh, what's going on here? She comes in and he's got the little tray across the bathtub, and I was like,
yeah, he's got a Trumbo bath thing.
I'm like, I wonder if I literally when I was watching this, I'm like, that'd be really weird if she set cocaine down, because this isn't the kind of time that you'd want to do cocaine. Like I'm like, maybe she's giving him some opium, or she's gonna like hit him up with some morphine or put something on him. But she set something down and she opens up a case. I'm like, fucking cocaine. Like,
called it.
I didn't mean to call it. I'm like, it can't be cocaine. In my head, I'm like, it can't be cocaine. Why would you do cocaine? But she brings in cocaine, and I'm like, cocaine after a fight? Like, like, that's like working like a 12-hour workday and then coming home and you're like, hey, do you want a cup of coffee? Like, no. I want to watch an episode of Seinfeld, and I want to go to sleep. But she comes in like, no, we're going up. We're going up now. Like, I think he wants
milk bath or not. I'm sorry, but after a contest like that,
especially after a bath, you'd want to go to sleep.
No, you turn into a Willy Wonka blueberry person after a fight like that. you're just a mess of swelling and soreness.
On wrestling tournaments, like on Saturdays, and like people are like, we're gonna go out and do stuff. I'm like, you're fucking crazy. Like, I'm going home. I'm going to bed. I'm gonna go eat, and I'm gonna go to sleep. That's what I'm doing.
And then I'm going to wake up pissing blood, and my face is gonna be purple. Yeah. My ears are gonna be all puffed up.
But I mean, she's like, here. She does a line, then she leaves it for him. I'm like, gonna be.
She has to teach him how to use it.
Yeah, right. He looks like he's just gonna rub a little bit on his gums, but he puts it on his tongue, oddly enough. And then she. So this is where it goes next. So he gets out of the bathtub and he's got his towel around his waist, and there's some nipple licking, there's some rubbing of stuff, and I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, you're a married man. Like,
yeah, and they were very kind to slip a shot of Beth like in bed alone during this. So we cut back to Beth for like just a second, and then back to him, and he and this mystery gal, they're doing some mutual business with their hands, and there's some nipple licking, and it's like, oh, so this is him completely tossing his morals out the window. I see.
See, I thought that the movie from here was just gonna be like he's just gonna fall into this lifestyle. He's just gonna be like, I thought it was gonna have like a dark ending where he's just like, fuck her, like fuck my wife, fuck my kids. I'm doing this shit now.
I mean, that would be kind of I think that actually would be a more interesting story.
That would be an interesting ending. Like, oh, okay.
He became the bad guy.
But
I mean, the American title is Crossing the Line, and this is the point where he crossed the line.
So Cuddy's brother cock blocks him. They're about to get it on, and they're like, he's blind. I'm like, what? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And it's Cuddy's brother. He's like, he's blind. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, he's blind. You blinded him in his other eye. I'm like, oh, he's blind? Well, fuck him. Maybe he should go back to college. Like, he got into a bare knuckle boxing match, and he had one eye. Like, what the fuck do you? What did you think you were doing?
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. I mean, you're from Scotland. Surely the government will, do something to take care of you if you got one eye put out.
Yeah, well, Liam Neeson goes down there, and they're about to thump this dude, and Liam's like, no, it's fine. Let me talk to him or whatever. And he's like, where's he at? He's like, hey, he's at the hospital. So Liam goes to Mr. Mason's office to get paid, I suppose.
Yeah, he insists right away.
Yeah, he's like, let me get paid. Mr. Mason's like, oh, dialogue, you like this shit. And he gives him some money, and it doesn't really look like that much money.
It doesn't. Like, it really doesn't. But this whole time, Mason is mocking him, basically, like telling him, like, you talk so much about your moral code and your righteousness, but really, at the end of the day, this is why you're here, is to get paid, right?
Yeah.
And he's mocking him, basically pointing out that he betrayed himself in going through with the fight and stuff. And this leads to a physical exchange between the two of them. Danny Schooler does not take too kindly to being mocked about money matters. And he ends up tossing this guy over a fucking table.
And knocking him out.
He knocks the fuck out of him. Like, at first I thought he killed him, to be honest.
That's what my girlfriend actually said. Did he kill him? I'm like, no, the guy's a pussy. He just threw him over.
I guess so, because he didn't, like, hit his head or anything. He just went over a table, and then he just doesn't get up. So I presumed he was dead.
Yeah, Liam Neeson takes the opportunity to take all the money out of the safe, and he's got it in a nice satchel. Really nice satchel. I really like
nice.
This.
Yeah,
I like this satchel.
Leather satchel.
Tidy whities, the whites. He takes the satchel to the hospital, and he finds Cuddy in the bed, and I like his scene with Cuddy here.
I did too.
I really liked it. Honestly, you should watch this movie just to watch the fight, and then know that Cuddy's probably going to be blind in the other eye. Then listen to his conversation with Cuddy, because Cuddy has possibly the best outlook on life I think I've ever heard.
For real, he is the Buddha. He is the Scottish Buddha.
He is Zen. He's just like, hey, it's me. I love it. He's just like, hey, it's me, Danny, and he just holds up his hand immediately. He's like, nice to meet you.
Yeah, and like, he has no ill will. He has no anger towards him whatsoever. It was
None.
a job to him.
Yeah, he's like, it's just a job. And then I'm like, this is a really interesting way to end the movie. Like, this is nice. He's gonna give him some money, and well, we learn that there's more to this. There's more to this story than we knew before.
Yeah. So the official title of the movie is The Big Man, and more than one character in this film has been referred to as the Big Man. Both Danny and Mr. Mason have been called that. However, there's another character who we've never seen, who is only shown to us in this brief sequence here, where Danny asks Cuddy, "What were we fighting for? Like, why did we have this horribly brutal, like, hellacious bare knuckle boxing match?" And Cuddy explains to him that there's a gentleman that they call the Big Man, some fat fuck, that spent money that belonged to Coven and Mason, meaning the two gentlemen who were betting on this bare knuckle contest. And the entire point of this fight was to determine who would take action on getting rid of the Big Man. So because Coven lost the bet, because Cuddy lost the fight, he had to send a hitman to eliminate the fat man, the Big Man. So that was the entire reason for the fight, was just to see who would clean up this mess and take the risk of, sending someone out there to do it. So it's like a very, very, very bullshit, empty reason to have a bare knuckle fight.
Yeah.
Following this, Liam Neeson's obviously not too happy about this, and I was a little confused because, again, this entire plot point was only expressed in this single dialogue exchange, so it kind of comes out of left field. But Liam Neeson gives Cuddy some money, and he heads home, and his wife is there. And I kind of love the visual of him showing up at his doorstep with a satchel full of money, and he just says, "I'm home, I won," and his face is just fucked.
Yeah.
And her reaction to it is she's not impressed. But just the words, "I'm home, I won," it's like, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Not one person cares.
She's just like, no, like, I don't want the money. I want you dumb shit.
Yeah, this is where the "I love you."
I love you. Yeah, and I finished it. Always have.
Always have.
Always have. And what's he do after this? Like
he heads to the coal factory.
Yeah,
again.
and he's making paper.
Yeah, he's making paper airplanes.
Making paper airplanes out of the money, which is weird. And then I think Billy Connolly comes up. Or no, that old one of the old guys from the logger, from the pub in town.
Yeah, the tenant's logger. This old guy that we learn his name is Sam. And he has a pretty fun exchange with Liam Neeson. He says, "There's some shithead at the pub for you. A smile like a tax collector."
Yeah.
So it's pretty obvious that Mason and his crew are looking for Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
And then Billy Connolly shows up, and he has a fresh slice down his cheek, obviously as a result of one of Mason's goons getting a hold of him or something. And he warns Liam Neeson, tells him, "Hey, I know they did this to me, but they're actually looking for you, so you might not want to be here." And sure enough, they're like, he has like one of those "he's behind me, isn't he" moments. And Mason and his goons show up, and there's like not a single word exchange as far as I know. Mason just gets out of his car, walks up to Liam Neeson, and he like grips him by the forearm or the bicep and just shoots him like a look where I'm not sure what he was trying to communicate in that instance. Maybe like kinship or disappointment, something in between. And then he just takes the money back and walks back to the car. But as he's doing so, he turns around for a second. He's like, "Oh yeah, we stopped by the house just a minute ago too." And Liam freaks the fuck out.
Oh,
he's like, "Oh shit, my family was there." And so he takes off running back home. And
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Julie. Yeah, Liam Neeson is he has a weird yell.
Yeah,
he
that's
doesn't
what
do it often, but it always sounds weird.
That's when I checked out of Darkman. Was when he was yelling at the carnival. I'm like, okay,
dude, you told me that before, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, that is maybe my favorite scene in that whole movie.
That's where I was like, okay, this may not be for me.
God damn, really?
Yeah, that's when I shut it off. I'll go back.
Oh man, like, that is my favorite scene in that movie.
Yeah.
I want the pink elephant for my girlfriend.
Yeah. He goes back to the apartment, and she's not there. Then now they're the kids. But he walks outside, and I guess Mason's pulling up right when a parade is showing up.
Yeah, as it so happens, the wife and the kids, I'm not sure if she got the village together or what, but basically the whole village has come out. And Mason and Danny have this confrontation where Danny's like, okay, if you're going to kill me, then just fucking do it right now in the street in front of everybody. And Beth steps up and she points out that it's like, if you harm him, the whole village loves this guy. He's like the hometown hero. If you kill him, you're going to have to kill the rest of us. And I don't think you have the resources to do that.
Yeah.
And Mason, he does the math. He does the mental math. He realizes, yeah, I probably can't kill him right now. But he does threaten to do so. And this is not exactly resolved. He does tell Liam Neeson straight to his face, like, I can kill you anytime I want. And he's probably right. But he packs up his shit, and he walks out of this town like a fucking boss.
Yeah.
So the way he does this is he walks straight into the crowd, and they all just part. Like, they all just spread out and let him through. And his goons are walking behind him, and his car is behind him, and it's following him very slowly. And he just looks so fucking regal and awesome doing this, because he's like, I don't need to get in the car. You people will move anyway. And then I believe we get, triumphant music playing over the scene. All the villagers embrace Liam Neeson. Beth makes up with Billy Connolly, like, whatever issues they may have had or whatever. Like, she tells him, like, hey, come inside, I'll patch you up. So everybody's happy ending, mega happy ending.
Mega happy ending. Well, not mega happy ending. Liam Neeson got his ass beat for free to realize that he just needed to be with his wife.
Yeah, he's still unemployed, by the way.
Yeah. Not only is he unemployed, but he didn't make any money because the guy just took all that money back. So
yeah, and who knows if he received some lasting damage from that fight.
Yeah, that dude's pretty big. He probably needs to go to a doctor.
Yeah, he probably should get on that.
Yeah.
Pretty sure cocaine doesn't fix that.
No, it doesn't help.
But yeah, I believe the last shot in the movie is pretty much a reverse of maybe the third or fourth shot in the movie. It's of Mason's vehicle. In the beginning of the movie, it was daytime and it was coming over a hill towards the camera. Now it's the same shot in the evening, going away from the town and over the hill.
Yeah.
And then we get our credits.
Yeah.
And that's the big man.
That is the big man.
That is the end. Thus endeth the big man. So, like I said, I wasn't expecting this to be a great movie, and it certainly isn't. I think I told you off air. I enjoy this movie for its quaintness. It's a small story about small town people, and it just, I don't know, it has a cozy feel to it. And it has punching and Liam Neeson, so I'm happy.
Gotcha.
But how did you feel about Kyle?
Yeah, my little pal, the Guinness helped out a little bit, smooth the little bit of lubrication for the movie. Definitely some weird parts. Like you said, the dialogue is pretty good. The story is just a little. It takes
feels like a almost a children's tale, like a fable or something.
I feel like they didn't get to shoot what they wanted to tell. Like, they could have done a little bit more to set up why they were doing the boxing match, and we don't find out until the last 4 minutes of the movie as to why it happened. So, yeah, it's okay. If you watch it, you probably won't hate it. If you don't,
It's also pretty short too.
yeah, it's pretty short. It's 90 minutes. Remember we made movies 90 minutes long.
Yeah, I miss those days.
Miss it. I think I'm gonna watch Overlord while Steph's gone. She's not gonna be happy about that, but I'm tired of waiting. So.
Oh, nice. I might rent that too then.
Yeah, I have a feeling we might want to do an episode on that because I feel like it's gonna be fun.
I mean the math equation that is Overlord, like zombies plus legit World War II plus Kurt Russell's son plus practical makeup effects. Sign me up. All about it.
Sounds like a blast. Sorry, man. I'm tired. I've been up early. I've been working all day. Now it's getting close to my bedtime, so I'm winding down here.
All right. Well, I'll let you get to it, but next week we'll be doing The Hallow. Is that right?
Are we going into The Hallow, or are we going to start our evening with Troy Duffy?
I think we got time for The Hallow.
Okay. Well, we should probably do The Hallow then, which is an Irish X-Files movie, as I like to call it.
Okay. Well, I know nothing about it, so I'm kind of excited to check it out.
Just jump right in.
Well, anyway, thank you for tuning in as we caught up on cinema.
Yes.
Until next time.
See ya.